Have you ever stopped to think about what really happens when you pray and fast? Most people treat this as a religious ritual or a practice that only brings internal benefits. But the truth is much deeper and surprising. What many don't realize is that these simple actions in the physical realm trigger powerful movements in the spiritual world. Yes, what you do here with your body directly influences what happens in the invisible. If you find all this intriguing, just wait until you understand how this dynamic truly works. You may be closer to unleashing something supernatural in your life than you think. And no, that's not an exaggeration. What you're about to discover could completely change the way you perceive the spiritual. When we talk about the relationship between the physical and the spiritual, we often forget that both are deeply connected. The actions we take in the physical world, such as praying and fasting, are not merely symbolic. They have concrete effects in the spiritual realm. Imagine, for example, a seed planted in the ground. To the human eye, it may seem like a simple action, but there's an invisible process occurring beneath the surface that transforms that seed into a tree. So it is with prayer and fasting. By practicing them physically, we nourish the spiritual. Many people might think that spiritual results happen only through random divine forces, but the truth is that what we do with our bodies profoundly influences the spiritual world. When someone engages in prayer, the physical act of kneeling or raising their hands is already a reflection of submission and surrender. This generates an invisible spiritual movement that many underestimate. Each word spoken in a sincere prayer or each day of fasting serves as keys that unlock spiritual doors that would otherwise remain closed. What's interesting is that this connection doesn't depend on complex formulas, but rather on simple attitudes that anyone can adopt. Consider the importance of setting aside time in your day to pray. It doesn't have to be anything elaborate. Sometimes, the simple act of pausing everything and dedicating a few minutes of silence can be enough to set the wheels of the spiritual in motion. And that brings us to the big question. If a small physical action can have such a significant impact, what more can we do to intensify this relationship? One of the most powerful examples of this relationship between the physical and the spiritual can be found in the story of Moses during the battle against Amalek in Exodus 17. In this crucial moment, Moses held his hands up in prayer while the Israelites fought. What's remarkable here is the direct connection between Moses' physical act and the outcome of the battle. As long as he kept his hands raised, the Israelite army prevailed. When his hands fell, the Amalekites gained the upper hand. Here we can clearly see that Moses' physical action had a direct spiritual impact. The battle in the physical realm depended on something happening in another plane. This teaches us that, just like Moses, our actions in the physical can determine the course of a spiritual battle in our lives. How often do we find ourselves in daily struggles, forgetting that the key to victory might be as simple as persisting in prayer? An interesting point is that when Moses was growing weak, he was helped by Aaron and Hur, who held up his hands. This reminds us that sometimes we need to seek help from others to stay strong. In our spiritual battles, who is by our side to help keep our hands raised? Through this example, we realize that the physical and spiritual support of those close to us can be essential for our victory. Obedience to divine instructions is a principle that transcends generations and stories. When we follow what is asked of us in the physical realm, we unleash spiritual power in surprising ways. Consider the story of Noah, who, when building the ark, followed a physical command and as a result, experienced a divine intervention that saved his family. This obedience isn't just about words or intentions. It's about the practical manifestation of faith through concrete actions. Every step of faith generates movement in the spiritual realm. Physical action is often underestimated. Many people believe that merely having faith is sufficient, but forget that faith without works is dead. Imagine receiving a clear instruction to act, like praying, fasting, or helping someone, and hesitating, thinking it won't make much difference. However, what we overlook is that these small actions indeed release the supernatural. A prayer made in faith can move spiritual mountains. Helping someone in need can open unexpected doors of blessings. Therefore, obedience isn't just about following blindly. It's about understanding that there's a profound connection between what we do and what God is prepared to release in response. A person who decides to act in accordance with their faith, like following a divine direction to fast or pray for someone, is positioning themselves to access divine power. What if, starting today, your small physical actions began to transform your spiritual life? The story of Daniel is one of the most significant when we talk about fasting and spiritual warfare. When Daniel realized he needed an answer from God, he decided to fast for 21 days. During this time, he abstained from refined foods and meat, demonstrating a physical discipline aligned with a spiritual purpose. This act was not merely a dietary restriction. It was a demonstration of dependence and perseverance. The interesting thing is that his answer did not come immediately, but Daniel remained steadfast, showing that persistence in the physical realm might be the key to unlocking something in the spiritual realm. Daniel's fast not only unlocked the answers he was waiting for, but also revealed the intensity of the spiritual battle occurring behind the scenes. While Daniel fasted, angels and principalities fought in the spiritual realm. This illustrates that our actions in the physical world, like fasting, have a profound impact on the spiritual realm, often far beyond what we can see. When we fast, we are, in a sense, strengthening the hands of those who fight for us spiritually. The lesson we derive from this is that fasting is not just an ancient practice or an outdated ritual. It is a powerful tool for overcoming spiritual battles that seem impossible. If you find yourself in a situation where things feel stuck, what's stopping you from following Daniel's example? Perhaps setting aside a period for fasting could be the key to unlocking the answer you've been waiting for. What might be happening in the spiritual realm while you stand firm? We arrive at the crucial point, the challenge. Just as Daniel faced his spiritual battles with fasting and prayer, you too can walk this path. The invitation is clear. Try a 3-week fast, similar to Daniel's. This practice is not merely an exercise in deprivation, but a way to align your body, mind, and spirit with divine purposes. During this time, you may notice that something begins to shift, not just within you, but also around you. If things are stagnant, perhaps it's time to take action. Physical fasting, combined with prayer, has the power to release the supernatural in your life. Interestingly, this is not an isolated practice. Thousands of people around the world have experienced transformations by following this principle. Remember, it's not just about abstaining from food, it's about dedicating that time to seek spiritual answers. You may be facing an obstacle in your life, a barrier that seems insurmountable. If Daniel could unlock answers through fasting, who knows what you might achieve? Therefore, the challenge is clear. Put your faith into action. Set aside these 3 weeks to fast and pray with purpose, expecting something grand. You could be just one step away from receiving the answer you so desperately seek, from overcoming that battle that seemed impossible. What are you waiting for? The physical act of starting this fast might be what's missing to release the supernatural in your life. Now that you understand the power your physical actions hold in the spiritual world, are you willing to apply this knowledge? Reflect on the battles you have been facing. Could the answer lie in something as simple as beginning a fast, intensifying your prayers, or obeying a direction you've received? What are you waiting for to test this powerful connection between the physical and the spiritual? Imagine what could happen in your life if you put all of this into practice right now. How many doors can open? How many answers can arise? Don't put off until tomorrow what could completely change your life today. And if you enjoyed what you learned here, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because we have videos every day to help you strengthen your spiritual life. Until the next video.